You raised Roller. You wrote the blueprint for his moves, man. Why wouldn't he want to take out the boss? It's the same you did to Breeze.
We believe there's an opportunity for a successful joint venture.
Jaw-dropping were the words from Mekhi Curtis, who plays the younger version of Kanan Stark. He recently did an interview with the people prior to the final episode of Season 4, which will no doubt be explosive, full of surprises, twists and turns which we don't expect, a couple of deaths, maybe more, and definitely some feisty conversations. If we take a look at the past history in terms of what we got with these feisty conversations, we've had a lot of back and forth from Rock and Lou. They gave us these epic moments from Seasons 1 and Season 2's finale. Season 3 was a complete role reversal, but there is always a very feisty conversation when it comes to Patina Miller as Rock. That's what I do think we're going to see again in episode 10 for Season 4. But that's the topic of discussion in today's breakdown. We're going to run through some of these quotes from Mekhi Curtis and also Erica Woods, who plays Pop, how in my snaps and Pop have become so integral to the world of raising Kanan, and how they might take an even bigger step and influence over Kanan. We're then going to talk about how Kanan is starting to get closer and closer to the character we saw on Power, again running through some more quotes from Mekhi Curtis. So a lot to unpack from these quotes, and generally just a build up of the grand finale of what's been a very enjoyable season for Raising Kanan Season 4. Now let's run through a couple of these quotes from Mekhi Curtis where he teases that his jaw was on the floor. He teased that he was terrified about one particular scene that's quite big, so the artist mind inside him said he was trying to figure it out. How are we going to do this? Where do I need to be? What places and marks do I need to hit? It's wild, and I'm excited, and I've got a great strong partner in Patina Miller to deal with, so we're going to have some fun. Now that's the first couple of quotes, and there are a few more. I'm going to run through them as we run through this breakdown. But in terms of this one, he says episode 10 is jaw-dropping, and there's a particular scene that he really had to get in the zone for. And I think one of the big scenes that we eventually have to see is Kanan confronting Rock. At this moment in time, we know he's been told by Snaps and Pop that Rock was the one behind Famous's death. He of course also needs to learn about Crystal, and I'm sure that will happen pretty early on in episode 10. But when he does, we know who he's going to throw the blame towards, and then eventually we need to see him confronting Rock. I think there's going to be a few hurdles in between. There's going to be this feisty exchange with Lou, that's for sure, but we have to assume he is eventually going to confront Rock, and again, based on history from the last couple of season finales of Raising Kanan, I am fully expecting to see and hear a very intense conversation between two characters. Whether it's between Rock and Kanan, I do think Mekhi Curtis has teased that it could potentially be. I think it definitely needs to happen. I think Kanan's theory that started from episode 407, through Snaps and Pops' manipulation, around the situation around Fame and also Crystal, he's going to want to have this talk and also maybe get revenge. It definitely does complicate things because this is also his mother, but also because she wasn't the one who was behind it. The problem is, she's done so much fucked up shit in the past, nobody believes her anymore. Whenever she tries to warn Kanan, he turns it back on Rock. Whenever something bad happens, he blames Rock. Rock is the one who gets all the blame, which to be honest is actually partly her fault.
I killed Breeze because he got in the way of my future.
Now the other explosive scene that could potentially be is Breeze, emphasis on potentially. You guys know I don't talk about this character much at all, because I really don't want to get your hopes up and him not show up. You know, keep speaking about a character over a year and him not show up. We've seen what's happened before, and that's the reason why I don't speak about this character Breeze much. When he arrives on the screen, he arrives. Until then, we focus on our current players, the current chessboard, characters, plot points, and when he does eventually arrive, great, we can then start talking about him. We can talk about his influence, where he fits, his relationship with Kanan, how do the Thomases react, and all that other stuff. In terms of introducing Breeze, Sasha Penn doesn't name drop him specifically, but he did recently do an interview on stage where he did say that he is aware of the characters the Power fans do want to see. Again, he didn't specifically name drop the character Breeze, but I'm pretty sure Sasha Penn is well aware of the character Power fans want to see. In my personal opinion, introducing Breeze right now in episode 10 would genuinely cement season 4 as one of the best. It really would be the icing on the cake for what's been a great season of Power. But again, I'm not going to get my hopes up. If he arrives, great. If not, cool, whatever. We'll just go back to not talking about Breeze until he is introduced, or until we get another scene or a clue which suggests this character may potentially be Breeze. But in all honesty, some of you guys are probably thinking the same as me. Maybe not all, but some. You're probably just sick and tired of hearing Breeze. Just let the story unfold. Saying B-Rilla is Breeze or that person or this person is Breeze, it does kind of get tiresome. When he arrives, we'll definitely know he's here, that's for sure. However, I actually do think the two perfect characters to introduce such a character is actually Snaps and Pop. And that's why I feel like it might genuinely be the right timing. With that being said, let's move on to some quotes from Erica Woods, who actually plays Pop. Now, this is what Erica Woods had to say on the influence and the role of her character Pop. Pop is really starting to step up and reveal herself to the fans, and I just really think you're going to see a big evolution of Pop from season 3 to 4. People are always saying Snaps and Pop. I think you're going to be hearing a lot more of Pop, and I think it's going to be a lot more of the woman and where they're going through and their war. So, very interesting quote from Erica Woods, who plays Pop. We know Snaps and Pop come as a bit of a duo, not just in Raising Kanan, but also in real life. For those who may not have caught it in one of my videos from earlier in the week, Snaps and Pop are also married in real life. It's why their chemistry is so great on screen. However, she does mention that we are going to start to hear Pop a lot more, so maybe a potential hint at a future conflict between her and Rock. Now, eventually I do think Snaps and Pop are going to have to pay for what they've done. Whether it happens in episode 10, I personally don't think it's going to happen that quick. We do know Raising Kanan like to take their time and let things simmer for a while. They like to be patient with their storytelling, and I think this one's going to be no different. I think this will probably rumble on into season 5, and at some point that's when Kanan will eventually discover the truth. But we do have to say, from their introduction from back in season 3, from the comfort of their back of their restaurant, Snaps and Pop have become two very big players in the world of Raising Kanan. Their power, influence, respect, how people fear them, how they've got everyone on strings, their connections from the players in the streets to within law enforcement, their involvement in Famous's death, Crystal's death, and also manipulating Kanan against Rock. They are very much in control and main players of Raising Kanan, which is why I wouldn't be surprised if Breeze genuinely is introduced. Why not have Snaps and Pop introduce Breeze into the story? So that's just a thought. Whether it plays out that way in the future, who knows? But they really are going to be integral to the storyline in episode 10 and also in season 5, that's for sure. But moving on to the next quote of Kanan eventually getting closer to the Kanan that we eventually saw on Power. Kanan's story is going to continue to build. That's what Raising Kanan is. What you saw this person as in the original show, Power, we're getting to reverse engineer that, and everything that he goes through, every experience, every person he comes in contact with, kind of helps keep that story of him being raised. It's getting grim, it's getting dark. We're definitely going to see more of that Kanan that people have seen in the original show. So that's Makai Curtis on getting one step closer to the character we saw on Power, which was always going to be a very much a gradual process, a long process. Like he said to Tariq just before he killed Duke, he's never been good, he's never been raised that way. Well, now we know exactly how he was raised, how he was manipulated and lied to, not just by Rock, but those who he's in business with in season 4. They have to make the younger Kanan go through all of these tough lessons before you get to the character we saw on Power, because if you genuinely start Kanan in season 1 being a cold-killing manipulating machine, everyone would say that's not realistic. However, what we're seeing Kanan go through, being lied to, losing loved ones, going through pain, trials and tribulations, that's eventually going to make him who he was on Power. I think Sasha Penn will be well aware of the character we know from Power and where they need to take him. He's made a lot of references to fan comments. He'll be aware of a lot of the conversations from Power. I think with the world that we live in now, which is dominated so much by social media, you get to gauge the audience and the Power fans' perspectives, opinions, and thoughts in real time. But Sasha Penn has been someone who seems like he hasn't let that influence much of his decision making. He knows what he wants in terms of telling each story for each character. I'm sure he may have had to change a few bits along the way, but I'm sure he knows where he wants to take it, and you can definitely see it in the writing. The care that they've taken in building these characters. I mean, it really is hard to make you care for characters in a prequel show when you know what happens in the original. But just take a look at how everybody loves Marvin. Look at the different spin they put on Duke. But what we now see Kanan going through with Snaps and Pop, two of the biggest players on Raising Kanan, that's just going to push him one step further to becoming the Kanan we know from Power. But that's a breakdown of some quotes from Makai Curtis and Erica Woods, how Snaps and Pop have become really integral in terms of the storyline of Raising Kanan, and no doubt they are going to continue to be so in season 5. Whether they introduce Kanan to Breeze and whether this is Breeze, as I said before, I'm not going to get my hopes up. When it happens, it happens. I'm sure Sasha Penn knows what the fans want. It's just about delivering it at the right time for when the story calls for it. But we're definitely getting one step closer, and definitely getting one step closer to the Kanan we saw from Power. Everything that we're seeing now is going to shape him and mold him and turn him into that cold, ruthless manipulator. And no doubt, we are going to see a lot more of that in Power Origins, but there is going to be a lot more time to talk about Power Origins this summer, that's for sure. First, we've got an epic episode 10 to look forward to, so drop all your thoughts down below in the comment section. Let me know what you make of some of these quotes, some of your predictions, and I will be back tomorrow with my usual preview of the exclusive images and a preview for the grand finale of Raising Kanan Season 4. As always, thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.